Hello everyone, my name is Lorthorn and welcome to a mod showcase for Repurposed Structures by Telepathic Grunt for 1.16.5 Forge and Java Edition. Repurposed Structures is an interesting mod. I have had it on basically every single mod pack I've made, I think. And to be perfectly honest, I never even really realized what it did until now, and it does a lot. It, so to say, adds over 80 structures. In reality, it's not that much, but, well, we will see. One of the first things I want to point out is there's a structure I've always noticed. I was never certain what mod it's from, but I always liked it. I always thought they were quite interesting, and that is the grassland igloo. I didn't realize that this was from Repurpose Structures, but it is. And it's simply a little hobbit hole structure. It is a repurposed structure. Basically a grassland equivalent of the snowy igloo that you may come across that has a cooking area, a crafting area, a little redstone torch so it doesn't burn everything down, nice carpet to keep your feet warm, and a bed for you to sleep in. These are my favorite structures in base game Minecraft and Minecraft in general. These sort of inconsequential little lore buildings that you just find down in the wilderness. Some little survival's hut that actually doesn't have treasure or much going on in it, but you could live in for a bit. I really, really love these things. And what Repurpose Structure does is it takes basically every single structure that is in base game Minecraft and gives them to other biomes and locations to play around with, such as with a stone igloo. And this one is also a very cool and different structure. It has a blast furnace in it, it's got this cook fire going on, a bit of iron sitting in there, a lantern, a crafting table in different locations, a little potted plant. It is tastefully put together. It's not just a copy and paste, it is a repurposed copy and paste. And it is for so many different things in this mod. Here is yet another one of the repurposed structures, and this is the Bastion. This is an overworld bastion. It is this crude, chaotic dungeon set up in the overworld. And a lot has gone into it. It's actually really cool. There's this level going down to explore it further, and you slowly make your way through until you get to this basically bridge area, and it's like the bastions you know from the nether, except it's all skeletons and redstone instead of gold. And when you're walking into it from the little staircase access, there's a freaking skull just hanging out that you walk through made of bone to get into the area proper. It's really cool. However, here's the thing. When I go type locate the bastion from Repurposed Structures, Bastion Underground, we're going to see that it is at negative 12,000, negative 6,000. And that's really, really, really far away from 0, 0. Now the reason for it being so far away comes down to configuration. And we have a list of the configs in this mod. If we click on Bastions, we can then see the average distance between spawn attempts for Underground Bastion is below not target as ocean, beach, and nether nor category. 1 for spawning is most chunks, and 1 is for none. The range is there, and then the Bastion Underground maximum chunk distance is 500. So basically in the configuration, it is probably going to be sitting around 500 chunks away, which is pretty far. And that's the case with a lot of these, how they've been configured. At pretty far distances. Now some are closer than others and some are farther than others. But when you go look at the configs, you realize just how far some are away and how rare of structures they are. Now, I actually don't think this is a bad thing having these structures so far and out of the way. Because part of it could be that you've explored Minecraft to the extent that exploration is in the base game, and you're just really going far out there. And so maybe you'll stumble across one of these structures you've never seen before and go, whoa, that's super cool, there's a bastion out here. However, I would like there to be a higher chance to stumble across it than was set to at default. That being said, there are over 80 of these repurposed structures. Now, a lot of them are repeats in new locations, but each time the different take on the repeat is still really cool and interesting in its own way. So I want to look at them all individually and explore these repurposed structures. Now, we've already seen the Bastion as its repurposed self. So next, let's go to the Nether City. This being a repurpose of the End City, instead is now another version of it with its own unique blocks and creatures spawning inside it. It's a blazing city instead of being filled with has blazes in it to be its guardians. And it looks really cool how it sort of grows into the rock using these crimson hypophene. I really dig it, honestly. It's just so interesting. Here we have one that is less built into the rock face, no boat coming off it, but we can see a better example of it just sort of coming up out of the ground, sitting on its own, powerful and indomitable in its solitude. Now, the Jungle Fortress is another really interesting one that's added. It is basically taking the Nether Fortress and throwing it into a jungle, giving a completely different feel to the whole idea of it, filling it with other types of monsters like zombies and skeletons at the most likely advent when they spawn, but sort of just this old decaying fortress sitting in a jungle instead of being a ruined fortress in hell. How it's getting slowly consumed by the jungle is something I adore. I always love the sort of Aztec Mayan ruin feel, and this definitely has those vibes. Also mixed with the European style of the stone bricks and the more iron bars castle. So it's definitely a mix of things and really adds to the post-apocalyptic feel that Minecraft has. Well, it could be an interesting touch with this structure if it was quite high above ground like this here, but extending out further, and so the trees are actually growing next to it instead of being so embedded low down the ground. If it really popped its way out of the jungle, and maybe some of them do spawn like that. The case is not so with this one here that I've come across, but that would be very cool. We've already covered both the grass igloo and the stone igloo, and I really like both of those, and there's no need to tread that ground again. Now we get on to the mansions. There's a lot of repurposed mansions. Each one has its own little thing going for it in the style of the decoration it has. It's not just placing the mansion in a new location, but actually completely redoing the blocks. So the birch mansion is made out of birch wood. The interior decoration is slightly different in how it's laid out. There's still the map runes, still are vindicators patrolling the halls, but it's definitely got a different vibe than the dark oak mansion or manor. The desert manor is pretty cool in my own opinion. It goes more into that deserty vibe of the orange and yellows. And again, the rooms actually do change in style. It's not just a copy and paste. It's instead sandstone seatings for their kitchen, and they got little cactuses for their potted plantery. The Jungle Manor has a fun jungle roof, which the repeating textures can slightly grate on the eyes when they're used in too much redness together. It's also got this mossy stone brick going on, which is just a different way to go about it. And it's got different color and different feel. You feel, honestly, warmer in here. That's the only way I can describe it. It feels like a warm manor, as opposed to the Oak Manor, which, well, still warmer, I think, than the base manor. It's got a sort of darker feel to it. And it really all just comes down to the color and layout of how those match together. The Savannah Mansion is big and orange. Well, the snowy one is white and blue. And the slippery floors is a different and interesting touch to change the playing field up a little bit. The taiga biome is just a giant spruce manor, utilizing cobblestone. Nothing really to write home about. The first different mine we have is a birch mine. This birch mine has a sort of central little chamber where you might walk about and get a different feel for it. And then it just uses birch stripped logs and has a different appearance. The Crimson Mine, however, changes this up because a mine of the nether, now that's cool. digging around randomly in the nether, and you come across this with giant pigs in it and different kinds of minecarts filled with all sorts of gold and redstone. That's nifty. The Dark Forest mine is yet another mine, but just using a different type of log, and it's got a nice grassy patch sitting inside it, which is kind of unexpected. The desert mine uses sandstone instead of logs, and is found underneath the deserts. Of course, once you dig deep enough in a desert, you are going to end up with stone instead of sand, so it can feel a little bit out of place if it's higher, if it's lower down than directly below the desert's surface. The end mine is another mine, and that I really like. And it's because it's, again, taking a completely different dimension and giving it a mine to play around with. It puts nasty different little critters in it. The walls are made of endstone brick. We've got these chorus fruits sitting around emitting light. We've got the purple pillar stones. It's got a very eldritch horror, eldritch Cthulhu mythos vibe to it. And we can see it's quite the expansive complex, and it's got some cool touches in it. It's got a little eye stone, and it's got some shulk chests in it. The icy mine is quite a cool location. Torches do cause it to melt though, so the light sources you have to be careful with the placing. And it being filled with these ice for the structures, it's just an interesting touch to the whole thing. It's really messy and a hard location to travel through. I'm not certain how I feel about it in entirety of building with ice. Maybe if it was built into an iceberg, I could like it more. It's still interesting that he attempted to add it with this mod. I'll give it that much. It's an interesting attempt at a mine shaft difference. The jungle mine is more of a viney feel with the jungle blocks. It's got a sort of, I don't know, almost like adventure jungle movie feel to it. Like you expect Indiana Jones or The Rock to be running by if you're in this place. Nether mine shaft is kind of like a nether fortress as opposed to the Crimson mine shaft. And this one I really vibe with as well, because using these nether bricks to support it really makes sense. Don't want the netherrack to come collapse down your head. And the fire being everywhere, this sort of central area with the soul stand, it's got a feeling of a mixed between both the nether fortress and the mine shaft, which is something I do like. Now the water mine I think is one of my favorite of the alternative mines. It doesn't actually have minecart tracks. It instead has these trapdoor flaps in here. And is just fully embracing the fact that it is underwater. Some Atlanteans built this mine. That is what this is. Like, this is definitely Atlantis mining. Savannah mine is just another color of mine. The stone mine uses stone fences to its advantage, which is kind of interesting, and I feel like it spawns quite deep down in the deep slate. So it has a different vibe to it, a bit more of a dwarfy vibe going on. It's still quite a classic mine, it's just a deeper mine, and I'm okay with that. I actually like that. The swamp mine shaft's in a swamp, and it uses mossy stone for its swampy purposes. Got some grass blocks, and it's just a little bit more dank and damp feeling in its layout and how it's put together. This taiga mine, again, just a different color, infested by spiders, probably has slightly different chests, and it's just a slight repurposing. And finally, the warped mine of the warped mines is quite low down by the bedrock, and we've got this warped wood logs in here, and their glowing effect's pretty. To change things up, we've got some alternative outposts. We have a Badland outpost, which utilizes the red sandstone for its appearances. So we got a slightly different looking place to hang out. The birch outpost changes up the normal appearance to give them just birch log planks as built out of. The crimson outpost, however, is a completely different thing going on. It has got instead hoglins in its prison cages, and well, this one is slightly underground, so it's slightly hard to see. It is inhabited not by pillagers, but rather repurposed by the piglins to be outposts for their own devious plans. desert outpost is outpost, but it's in the desert. The end outpost is an outpost, but it's in the end. However, who's occupying the end outpost? Well, apparently, it's phantoms. And, as well as that, it is shulkers. You can hear them about making their horrible great. And we have shulker boxes containing their treasures that they're hiding away. Also, actually got a own unique banner for this outpost, which I really like. It's like an ender dragon mob about to blast you with death. A giant taiga outpost is an outpost in a giant taiga biome, so very similar to the other ones, just slightly different building material. The icy outpost, well, in an interesting location, is just yet another example of the ingenuity of our pillager friends here, being able to build out of ice for their house so that not even in the cold Arctic you can be free of their raiding. I feel like the jungle outpost should be really tall. I don't know why, but I feel like it should be an exceptionally tall outpost. I get that it's just repurposed, so they're only doing small amounts of redesign on them. But to me, for some reason, I feel like this outpost should really utilize just the sheer amount of wood they have access to, of the jungle wood, to make an absurdly tall outpost, which might be compensating for something. Still, I don't mind staying true to what you initially set out to do as well, of just doing a quick repurpose, reskin with a little bit of story and thought. Now, the nether brick outpost, this one's really cool because it happened to spawn right next to a terrible fortress, and oh my gosh, it is full of so many piglins. Look at all of them. And the roof structure is even a little bit different. It's broken and decayed. It is definitely the ruins of whatever the Nether Empire was. Because whenever you come across the Nether stuff, like the Nether fortresses are in ruins, to be perfectly honest. They're not the best maintained things. Everything is slowly just decaying away, and the Nether outpost is no different from that, which is really, really good for the mod maker to pick up on, because they're getting the vibe and the idea of Minecraft. The Nether is a fallen world. The Oak Outpost is actually really quite similar to the normal outpost. Outpost made of oak. And the Snowy Outpost is made of snow as opposed to ice from the icy one, but they happen to utilize the diorite quite nicely. The Taiga Outpost is just using spruce wood logs to have a little Taiga Outpost out in the Taiga Forest. And the Warped Outpost is an outpost in the Warped Wood, again occupied by the piglins. Of course, using the wood, this one actually isn't as decayed and broken down because the piglins built this one anew instead of using the old nether brick structures, which are all breaking down and no longer the once mighty empire they were. Now into the Badlands with a pyramid that is different than the sand pyramid. This one made out of red redstone and terracotta bits, and having slightly different traps inside it. This one's trap is actually the same as we know and love, but sometimes they're a little bit different, and this one also happens to have trapped chests, meaning that you're not safe even if you avoid the pressure plate problem. I really like the repurposed pyramids. They're fun, as each one has its own unique little trap system to overcome. This epic end pyramid, which looks kind of creepy and kind of derpy at the same time, being made of obsidian, has its own little problems to conquer, being full of the endermites. And there actually isn't any pressure plate for you to stumble across. However, there is a chest hidden beneath the carpet, and there is still TNT to look out for. If we clear away all this, we notice there is quite a bit of TNT packed into here. Different traps, different process to going through the whole place, which I really like. And it's also got its own unique banners. It's got this sort of purple dragon head banner, which is really cool. I particularly like the flower pyramid because it's a pyramid made out of wood. And it's still got the style of the pyramid, but it's also got a different vibe going on as well. This one also being very slightly underground. Pyramids can spawn like that, but it's just got a completely different feel. It's very cheerful, to be perfectly honest. It's got a giant daisy and it's full of flowers. And instead of having a typical treasure room at the bottom. This one is full of creepers, which is kind of cruel, to be perfectly honest. It's full of creepers and treasure chests. All the flowers, and I lived in one of these on a friend's server. I didn't even realize it's from this mod. That's the thing about this. You don't realize what mods from. It could be from any mod, but no, it's all from just this one mod, and they're just these structures that are. It's just special. The giant taiga pyramid is another one of our wooden pyramids. This one uses a bit of stone though as well in its design. And its trap is also a little bit different. You land onto these glass panels, and then if you break through it, you land on a pressure plate which blows up an absolutely massive area. Icy pyramid we find in our wonderful icy spiky biome. The icy spire, icy spike biome, whatever its proper name is one of my favorite biomes. I hate living in them, they're awful, but to walk by, it's just like, that is really cool. Now, what's our trap down here? Look, things are covered, and what the? There is redstone walk frost, and it floods us with water, so it plans to drown you. Oh, that is clever. That is very clever. It activates the redstone. Oh, I like that. The jungle pyramid thing, it reminds me a lot of the temple, you know? It is quite similar to the temple. And this one has layers. It's like an ogre or an onion. You have to break through layer after layer after layer until you finally get down to the proper layer. Nothing's blown up on me so far. Well, not certain what the trap with this one is. Maybe it's just... Oh, that's the trap. Okay. The mushroom pyramid is just kind of silly. Might expect this in the Mushroom Kingdom. I'm excited for its trap, which appears to just be a gross pool of water. Okay. Nether pyramid is eerie looking. It looks like a giant crab head, honestly. Don't have to dig down for this treasure chest. Just here, mate. Have it. Also, here's the portal. Or so you think. A lot of TNT. Should see that one coming. I like the portal. The ocean pyramid. Kind of cool looking. A little bit buggy inside though. It looks like it sucks you down. I think the trap here is you're just never going to get out. Never mind, its dispenser's full of poison. That is evil. Safe in the snowy pyramid. Well, we're not dropping down there. Looky here. You've got those little lines. We've got snow beneath us. We got TNT. Set off. Okay, simple TNT trap. Everyone likes their classic. Different way of deploying it though. And now, from the pyramids, we go to a ruined portal. This portal, though, is not your typical ruined portal because it's in the end. So, it's got its own unique banner, which is this awesome dragon head banner, which is different than the black banner we had. So it's just a ruined portal in the end. And from those ruins, we go to different ruins. We go to the land ruins, as there's those underwater ruins, which are always quite interesting, but these basically take those Atlantic ruins and throws them up onto the land. This is a pretty simple set of land ruins. We've got the magma blocks around them. These ones don't have any treasure. We've got some cool arcs going on. It's just a simple, straightforward ruin. That's the hot ruin. We also just have the warm ruin. And the warm ruin, I think, is just so mysterious. You come across this, you're not expecting it. It's like, whoa. There's like some old farming stuff in it. There's a chest to do fishing with. We got this tower here. Oh, that's cool. More farms and bricks in it. And the treasure isn't amazing treasure, but it's nice to have. And especially if you start off the game. Like starting off the game, you come across this stuff, like you definitely want to explore it at the very least. And you could potentially like build your house up into it, sort of restore them. It's a cool vibe of having the Atlantic ruins that are usually underwater on the land. It's a nice touch that I really appreciate. Again, yet a different take of it is doing that, but doing it in the nether, which it also has its own banner here of the wither. It's all broken, the basalt. What? And this weird fountain thing, like what is this? Is this some sort of like ritual spot? Do they worship here with different colors, or is it just like a nice art piece they installed in these old ruins? We don't know. Out of the ruins and into, I think, one of my new favorite parts, which is the Crimson Ship and the ships in the nether. This is meant to be the equivalent of the ruined ship, the shipwreck. However, you can't go swimming about in lava, so instead these ships are upright and sailing on the sea of magma, and they are just metal. They are badass. They are awesome. Got a little skull flag on here. They are crewed by wither skeletons. They are full of netherite debris, ancient scraps. Oh, they're on fire. They are just awesome. There's, they are awesome. These are truly awesome little structures. It's a proper boat. The shipwreck in the end is also a different take because it's basically one of the end ships that you usually see flying around. However, this one is crashed. So it's a crashed end ship. Which, then we have the nether brick ship over here. This one's got a slightly, I don't know, more Dread Pirate vibe to it, just being the nether brick. It's slightly more darker. It's not quite like the Crimson ship. It's got a brewing stand in it. And it's got boots, so it's kind of the equivalent of the Elytra. So these are like the ships in the end, but for the nether. That's what their equivalency here, or this one anyways. And so this is Curse of Binding, Curse of Vanishing, Soul Speed, Fire Protection, Feather Falling. So the Elytra lets you traverse the end. These nether boots let you traverse the nether. And then we have the warp ship, which is kind of like a ship of the damned. That's how I looked at it, with all the blue fire coming off it, this light teal fire. It's kind of the ferryman's ship, is the ship that's going to take you to the underworld. It's similar to the Crimson ship in a lot of ways, but it's got its own story going on here. I mean, it's got a prison for one. That's a different tale. Thorns and blast protections. The treasure in the Crimson ship doesn't appear to be amazing, but it's got a garden going on, so they're practicing some form of hydroponics. And it does look very nice with the shaders and the veins glowing through the wood there. Now we've gotten a lot of maps and looks at it, so there is a stronghold in the end, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, as a stronghold is how you get to the end, but apparently it also got a stronghold in the end. This place is loud, I will say that. It is very loud. It is filled with so many shulkers. So if you go here, you are just going to hear blah, blah, non-stop. Also, apparently we'll find huge quantities of lapis lazuli if you get into any of the lapis lazuli rooms. Looking for equivalent of an end portal in here. I'm curious as to if there is an overall end purpose to it. There is a staircase going down quite a ways. Maybe that leads to a port? No, it's just a chain. Oh! It's just a path into the void. I didn't even think about that as a possibility. That's cool. I like the idea of it. I really like the idea of it. I'm not certain I like the looks of this, though. It's too purple. Okay. Huh. Super end? Or the end of the game. What could be really cruel to do to someone is, with that in mind of having that option there, you remove the portal the dragon gives you. So you have to find the end stronghold if you want to get home with all your gear. That could be something to do to a mod pack. I want to play that mod pack, but it could be something to do. Then there is a stronghold in the nether, which uses polished blackstone so it doesn't feel like it is the fortress. There is a fortress directly above us. However, this is using polished blackstone, and I like this one's design. The brown and red, it actually really works. It is cool looking. We got chambers that have these guys trapped in them. It's a good vibe. Now there's also alternative temples like the jungle temple. Here's a Bastion temple. It's going to have its own Bastion trap system in here, firing arrows through lava. It's the temple. I don't like the execution of the Bastion temple. It kind of just looks like a pile of rubble. There is a Crimson temple, which again is really hard to make out because it's spawned into the Crimson and the Netherract, and it is kind of a nightmare on the eyes to walk around in. Temple's okay in the jungle, but I think the repurposing of the temple in these ones doesn't quite work as well as the other repurposements. The temple kind of is meant to look like it belongs in an overgrown jungle, and slapping it into these places I just don't think works quite as well. Soul Temple, there again, yeah, it just kind of looks like a pile of soulstone. And the Warp Temple, pile of random blocks that were thrown together material-wise, as the temple really needs to distinguish itself being stone in the center of the jungle. If you make it out of the same material, it just doesn't work. It really needs to look different than its surrounding. The final temple here in the abandoned gully kind of works because we walk through this crevasse and it's a structure versus the netherrack around it. But even then, I just don't like it. So a few more villages were also added. We have the Badland village, which is built with completely different material, and this is done right. It uses these dark oak logs, which don't know how they got dark oak logs out here, but they do. And I dig the design of these. It's actually its own sort of unique village approach, look, feel to it. There's some creativities on show here. Looks like a saloon, this place here. Which basically is a bar with drinks. That is awesome. This is a cowboy saloon. This is like a cowboy town. Got a little drinking hole for the horses. Yeah, this is how you do a village in a new location. Now, Birch Village is a village made out of birch wood. And there's nothing really special about it besides the building material change. And that they got their own special little gardens outside of each place where they get their own wheat instead of one large wheat plot. Now, the Crimson Village, well occupied by Pigman, I think is a missed opportunity to actually just throw villagers into hell. As harsh as that sounds, I think that's what should have been done. I think that this should have just been a full-blown, let's have villagers spawn here. As it stands now, it's alright. I don't mind the piglins living here, but I really would have preferred it to be villagers here. And again, the buildings don't contrast nicely against the surrounding because it uses crimson wood to build in the crimson biome, and that just doesn't work contrast-wise. Now our Dark Oak village has the aubergine villagers, which I do love myself an aubergine villager. And they've got a lovely little market, and they're just living in amongst the trees. I think that's kind of the special thing going on for them. The giant taiga village is just a spruce village. I think it's got stone buildings. For some reason they decided to build with coal in their walls. Their stone huts, though, are kind of funny. Oh yes, I do live in a little stone hut. Leia's jungle village, made with old bricks and stuff. They've definitely gathered things up from the nearby old temples, and they're very colorful, using red terracotta and jungle wood, many banners. This feels like it's sort of the Amazonians, Amazon village, where you encounter Amazonians from the rainforest. Like your houses, very skinny, very cobbled together, and it's, ooh, the terraced build. That's nice, actually. I like the terraced farms. Yeah, it's kind of more chaotic. They're scraping together whatever meager civilization is left behind to them within the jungle from the ancient ruins and building with a mix of cultures. It's a well thought out design. Now the mountain village is full of sturdy mountain men, and I had like no buildings spawn for me for this village, but it's a village in the mountains. They like to make roads out of stone bricks. That's cool. Of course, we have to have a mushroom village with mushroom houses. They got gnome houses, they got mushroom ceilings. I love mushroom houses. And an oak village is a village built in an oak forest. Kind of is using the savanna biome building feel, I feel like, but just repurposed with oak structures. Not sure how I feel about that. It's okay, but it's not my favorite at all. I feel like they should be more log cabin, more European feel than they are. That's my own feeling. And we got a swamp village, a village in a swamp, which will have yet more aubergine villagers. And own swamp buildings. I like these swamp buildings. These buildings feel grungy. These feel like swamp men. They got dirt on their roof. They got grass growing on their roof. They don't really have roads. They have a lot of sugarcane lying about, a lot of pumpkins. This is what this village should be. It should be a mess, and it is a mess, and I love it for that. And finally, other villages, we've got the warp village, which also suffers from the problem of being built with warped wood and being occupied by piglins. And so it doesn't have normal villagers in it, and it's really hard to distinguish from its surroundings, just kind of making it a hideous blended mess. And now, to end on a really boring note, we have all the different witches' huts. We got a birch witch hut, which is a witch hut made of birch. We have a dark oak witch hut, which is a witch hut made of dark oak. With a giant taiga biome witch hut, which I feel like it could have been giant taiga tree size. It could have been taller, but it's not. It's made out of stone. It's there. Got the witch hut in the oak forest, and this is the problem with going in alphabetical order, is you end up with witch huts at the end, which are really, really, really boring. They're like the most boring Minecraft structure. There should be mods, like default, to make them look more interesting, because god, witch huts are boring. Yeah, that's the oak one. And that is that. Yeah, repurposed structures. Basically taking the structures that already exist in the game and just adding them to other biomes. I really like this mod. I think a lot of mod packs benefit from it. I think Minecraft honestly benefits from it. There's a few misses with it, don't get me wrong, as I expressed, there's a few misses, but overall, it's really good and it adds to the story of Minecraft, the weird vanilla story of Minecraft that I think not even the makers of Minecraft truly understand what they have made, which that is my favorite kind of story. And the more they try to shape it, I think the worse the story becomes. So keeping it to an older version as well, and just having that older feeling, that older kind of play, definitely plays into it for me. Something about walking around when you have so little gear to start with, and you come across one of these grassy igloos and go, I live here now. I really like this mod. That's basically the main thing I've interacted with from this mod. There's so little other things I've ever come across because it's so vast, so expansive as the world of Minecraft is, and they're so far away and so far hard to find that you're never going to come across a lot of these structures, these repurposed structures. But when you do, there's something special about them. There's something so cool and unique and precious feeling. And I really, really like that. I really love that feeling. That's why I like this mod so much. I really like ruin mods or different mods. Mods that add buildings, but the buildings aren't super occupied or they just feel like they're in Minecraft. That's some of my favorite mods, so you can walk around the world and just bump into them. It's like playing Skyrim. I love that feeling. You're just traveling around. It's like, oh, hey, that's something. I recognize that. But, oh no, it's different. It's unique. Or even just this village in the mountainside. Like, this is a pretty normal village. But it's kind of an epic location, isn't it? With these really tall mountains all around it. Like, that's just special feeling. There's something so just... It feels nice to come across this. And, oh look, it's got a little barn. I don't think that's a base village thing. That must be a repurposed structure thing going on here. Got horses and cows. Yeah, no, this is definitely repurposed structure nonsense going on. That's so cool. I love it. That's what this mod is. I really like this mod. Hope you enjoyed exploring it with me and looking at it. It's kind of not much for me to say because, oh, that's really cool. I like that part. Or, oh, that part didn't really work. But I just wanted to share one of my favorite mods with everyone, how it changes the feeling of the game, and just that little bit of touch to the exploration, that different feeling to it that you get from Minecraft. That Minecraft can just feel different and special. I really like about the whole game experience when you come across things that you're just not expecting. You know? They're just something special. Anyways, that's all for me for today. Yeah. All right. We'll see if this is editable into an actual video. So thank you very much for watching. And as always, and thank you very much for watching.